this is Christine with Hazelwood Floors, and I'm going to briefly go over our Olympic price system. So the reason why we came up with this system is to make it easier for homeowners and contractors, kind of everybody who's involved in sanding floors and doing hardwood floors, is to kind of let you know what your choices are in terms of the finish and also the level and quality of sanding that we have. So the first thing is the bronze package. This is on our website as you basically crossing the floor and then flattening it. So we're not doing any kind of steps beyond that. It's recommended for kind of loft type spaces that might be in a urban setting, downtown, big, beautiful, modern loft apartments, or rental properties as well. If you kind of just, if the floors look like trash and they just need to look better than they do, but you don't want to invest a crazy amount of money in it because it's a rental, and it's going to get messed up again because, renters typically don't tend to take the best care since they are not the owners. So, and that is highly what we recommend. It starts at $250 a square foot, and it includes 2 coats of oil-based polyurethane. And oil-based kind of helps to mask any dents, dings, marks, that kind of thing a little better than, other types of finishes. And then we have our silver package, which is the norm. That's the industry standard, standard refinishing with 3 coats total. That's 1 coat of stain or 2 coats of polyurethane. And then the other option is to do 3 coats of polyurethane. So that's if you want a completely natural floor with just polyurethane on it. So in that case, it's a lot better sanding. It's smooth. It's not the smoothest option out there, but it is nice. It's smooth. You don't really see sanding marks. Any case of hardwood floor refinishing, you will see sanding marks. However, how you see them and how often and where is the kicker. So on a typical floor, if you look down, you can get close enough and you can get a magnifying glass out and you will be able to see a sanding mark. Any floor, $1 million home, the White House, anywhere. You will see sanding marks when you're looking at it on your hands and knees, kind of searching for them. It's inevitable. We sand your floors with these massive machines. We use machines to get marks out, but there are sometimes, left. And that's why it's important to know, that certain stain colors hide them, some, make them pop out, and that sort of thing. So, and also with the finish itself, you will sometimes notice some bubbles, or just kind of like maybe dust or bugs got caught in the finish while it was drying. Those kinds of things are completely normal and, and they'll go away with time. Or if, something major happened, like it rained and a window was open, you got to recoat that area, that's totally fine. So next up is the gold package. And this is where it involves a 2-component finish. So that's the main difference between the silver and the gold, as well as there are added steps of sanding in order to make sure that it is the smoothest possible floor that you have ever touched. When you look that way, you should not ever, in the silver or gold package, you should never see divots. Sometimes when you look across a floor, if you hired somebody who wasn't the best at sanding, who wasn't a complete professional, you will see like stop marks from the Hummel or the big machine, which is a belt sander. It should be completely flat across the board, super smooth, and you'll be able to see that pretty clearly standing up. And how you judge a floor is just like this, standing up and looking out. If I see a huge dent over there or like a huge mark somewhere in there, that's major. However, if I'm seeing it like this, that's not how you judge a floor. So it's very important to kind of make sure you're aware of kind of what's normal, what's the standard in our industry, and things of that sort. If you are a stickler and you want your floor to be absolutely perfect with no marks, it's the smoothest finish, you're going to want the gold finish. Not only because of that, but because of the finish and the protection that it provides. So we have 2 options. One is the Duramax polyurethane. It's the 2-component polyurethane, and basically what it means is there's a hardener in it. So it's, polyurethane is a top layer on top of the floor itself. So when you do that, you're basically providing like a sheet of armor, a coat of armor. And so when you want that polyurethane, it only comes in the traditional sheens. So if you want, the traditional floor with a satin sheen, we really don't recommend the semi-gloss or the gloss because they tend to show wear. So if you have a door, everybody comes in through your main door and they kind of walk all in the same hall, eventually you're going to notice that area kind of getting worn away. So the finish will kind of like lose its sheen as much when it's in high traffic areas. So satin is what we recommend, and it's what 99% of homeowners use when they choose polyurethane, simply because it's not shiny, it has some sheen, but it's pretty great. You don't notice as much. They do have matte polyurethane out there as well. It's less sheen than satin, however, it's not completely matte. The only way to get a truly 100% matte finish is with Rubio Monocoat. And that is, what the product that we use. I believe there's other products out there that we just don't use. We really, really love Rubio. And so that's what we have on these floors. And basically what it does is it penetrates into the wood itself and makes the wood itself harder, as opposed to a top coat, that layer of armor. So instead of it being a sheen, it's in the wood. So that makes this wood so much more, less scratch resistant, much harder. It's harder to dent, it's harder to scratch. There's a lot of benefits. There's pros and cons of both. I've heard that Rubio tends to stain a little bit easier than polyurethane. However, it's wrong. It may be able to stain easier, but we have a tannin remover to get those stains out. Whereas with polyurethane, you don't. If you notice a stain, it's stuck. The only way to get a stain out is to replace that board. Eventually, if it turns black or darker, if you scratch your floor, you can't get that out with polyurethane. The only way to get it out is with buff and coating the whole floor. If it's so deep that it's showing raw wood in that scratch, you're out of luck because you can't fix that. The only way to properly get it out is to fully refinish your floor. Now there's a quick fix of applying some stain or some wood putty in there, and that'll cover it up. So if you're not a stickler and it's not a really bothersome area kind of thing, you can just kind of hide it with a $5 little thing of some wood putty or from your local hardware store. And but with Rubio Monocoat, you get to use the Rubio 2C oil and rub some of that Rubio in there, and it covers it up. It doesn't take away the scratch. You can't take away a scratch, but you can cover it up at least with Rubio, and it's much easier and quicker to fix as opposed to going to the store and doing all that kind of stuff. So there's pros and cons to both. If you want a more in-depth kind of comparison, if you're considering the gold package but you just don't know if you want to go for the Rubio or if you want to go for the polyurethane, we have a blog post on it where I go over a little bit more. Rubio Monocoat also has an amazing website that is very helpful. Duracell, their website's pretty good. I don't know if it goes into much in depth as Rubio's does, but again, it's a preference. If you don't want a sheen and you want a more modern look, Rubio's the way to go. If you like less maintenance, Rubio's the way to go. But polyurethane is still the dominator in the industry. And that is because people like their traditional floors, and so that's our 3 price systems. And if you have any questions, feel free to call or email us.